Have you ever seen a beach so beautiful that people forget it is trying to kill them? At first glance, Reynisfjara does not look like a warning. It looks like a dream made of black sand, white surf, and towering stone. But that is exactly what makes it deadly. Because on Iceland's south coast, the most dangerous thing is not hidden beneath the cliffs or far out at sea. It is the water itself, arriving without warning, colder than instinct expects, stronger than the body can answer. Reynisfjara lies near the village of Vik, where Iceland's southern edge faces the full force of the North Atlantic. Nothing here feels soft. The sand is black because it was born from fire. Volcanic rock, ash and lava, broken down over time into a shoreline that looks burned even when it is wet. Behind the beach rises Reynisfjall, a mountain built through eruptions, ice and pressure over immense stretches of time. In its face are layers of basalt and volcanic stone, arranged in patterns so precise they almost look engineered. This is not a beach shaped for comfort. It is a coastline shaped by impact. The basalt columns are the first thing that make people stop. Tall, dark, geometric, almost unnaturally clean in their symmetry, they rise from the cliff like giant organ pipes. They are beautiful in a way that feels severe. People stand beside them for photos, smiling against the stone while the ocean moves only meters away. And that contrast is what gives Reynisfjara its power. The land looks fixed, ancient, dependable. The sea looks rhythmic, readable, almost calm. But one of those things is lying. Far offshore stand the Reynisdrangar sea stacks, black pillars rising straight from the Atlantic, like the remains of something enormous. Icelandic folklore says they were trolls caught by sunrise while dragging a ship to shore, frozen into stone before they could escape the light. It sounds like an old story told to make the landscape more dramatic. But standing there, it feels like the opposite. It feels like the story exists because the place was already too dramatic to explain in ordinary language. Some coastlines feel scenic. Reynisfjara feels inhabited by memory. And yet the real threat here is not myth. It is the waves. Reynisfjara is infamous for sneaker waves, surges that move much farther up the beach than the pattern before them suggests. That is what makes them so dangerous. They do not announce themselves with a steady escalation. They teach the wrong lesson first. Visitors watch the water for a moment, assume they understand the rhythm, and step closer. They turn toward the cliffs. They crouch for a photo. They move onto sand that looked safe 5 seconds earlier. Then the ocean changes its mind. A larger wave surges in fast, reaches far beyond where the last one stopped, and suddenly the shoreline is gone. Water wraps around ankles, knees, whole bodies. The force is not just forward. It is downward and back, dragging with terrifying speed. And Reynisfjara becomes even more dangerous because of what lies beneath that waterline. The seafloor drops off steeply, which means the surf does not simply wash in and retreat gently. It pulls hard into deeper water, turning one slip into a violent struggle against depth, undertow and shock. That is where the cold becomes its own kind of weapon. In water like this, the first danger is not eventual hypothermia. It is immediate cold shock. Within seconds, the chest can tighten. Breathing can explode into involuntary gasps, and the body can lose coordination before the mind has even understood what happened. Fingers stop obeying. Legs stop feeling reliable. Panic arrives faster than strategy. A person does not need to be far from shore for this to become fatal. At Reynisfjara, a few seconds can be enough to take away the ability to fight back. What makes all of this more terrifying is how ordinary the beach can look right before something goes wrong. There does not need to be a storm. The sky does not need to darken into some obvious cinematic warning. That is why so many people underestimate it. We are trained to fear obvious violence. Eruptions, collapsing ice, thunder, cliffs in the middle of a gale. Reynisfjara is different. Its danger wears elegance. It lets people think they have time. It lets them believe the boundary between safe and unsafe is visible. It is not. And that is where the danger changes shape. It stops being only physical and becomes psychological. A place like Reynisfjara does not just challenge the body, it challenges human behavior. Because once a location becomes famous online, people do not arrive only to witness it, they arrive to capture it. They want the dramatic angle, the perfect frame, the shot that proves they stood at the edge of something wild. Social media has turned many landscapes into performances, and Reynisfjara is one of the clearest examples of what happens when a lethal coastline becomes a visual obsession. That is part of its modern impact. Reynisfjara is no longer just a remote Icelandic beach. It is a global image, shared in reels, travel edits, drone montages, and bucket list posts that often show the beauty more clearly than the risk. In modern life, that changes how people move through a place. They step backward while filming. They look at screens instead of wavelines. They chase closeness because closeness looks better on camera. The result is that nature now has to compete with distraction. Warning signs, monitored conditions, and public safety messaging have become part of the Reynisfjara experience. Because the beach is no longer fighting only the sea. It is also fighting human overconfidence, amplified by the camera lens. Maybe that is why Reynisfjara stays with people long after they leave. Not because it is simply beautiful, but because it exposes something uncomfortable about us. We still believe we can read nature quickly. We still think access means safety. If there is a parking area, a marked viewpoint, and other visitors nearby, part of the brain relaxes. It assumes someone somewhere has already tamed the danger. But places like this cannot be tamed. They can only be respected for what they are. So, what is Reynisfjara really? It is a volcanic shoreline, yes, a masterpiece of black sand, basalt, and Atlantic force. A place of folklore, geology, and astonishing visual power. But more than that, it is a test. A place that asks whether beauty makes you more observant or more careless. Whether wonder sharpens your instincts or dulls them. Whether you are still watching the ocean or only the image of yourself standing in front of it. Because that is how this beach takes people. Not with chaos at first, but with hesitation. With one step closer, one glance away, one wave that arrives where the last one did not. And then the illusion is over. The black sand, the cliffs, the stone towers, the freezing Atlantic. They stop looking like scenery and start revealing what they have been all along. A perfect merciless edge between awe and disaster. And if Reynisfjara feels impossible, the next place feels even more unreal. In the Faroe Islands, there is a lake that seems to hang above the ocean itself. It looks like the land has broken the rules of gravity. Faroe Islands. Why does this lake float above the ocean?